I used to play this game with myself. I would imagine myself as if I were the tutor for this bloodthirsty king for his kids. And he really cared a lot about the education for his kids. And he had already executed the previous two tutors. He cared a lot
You're
about it.
number three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, like your life depends on it, right? So I was like, okay, imagine you're in that situation. You're the new tutor and you have these two kids, and you know there's a decent chance that after the session's done, he'd be like, come here, what'd you learn today? And then he starts to quiz them on this thing that they said they learned. And if he was unimpressed, he was going to have your head taken off. Okay, so if you're in that situation, how would you teach? You're like, oh my God, okay, so I'm teaching them how to solve linear equations or something. You're like, okay, am I going to just talk at them for an hour? No. With no practice? They'll totally, because if he asks them to solve some linear equations and they can't solve it, I'm dead. So I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what a linear equation is. This is what it represents. Here's how you solve it. Now I'll go through a couple examples. Then I'm going to have you guys do a couple of examples. And then I'm going to give you progressively more challenging ones. I'm going to make them negative numbers or fractions or whatever. And we're going to kind of build on it progressively. I'm going to get a lot of practice, but I'm going to keep raising the level. But it's always going to be you as a student, going through the process, the procedure of performing the skill that I'm trying to get you to acquire. And this would be the same situation we go on if you're in a tennis lesson or learning how to play the violin or whatever. You're the coach, the instructor, the teacher is going to have you performing the skill and giving you feedback on what needs to be improved, what you got right, what needs to be adjusted to correctly execute the skill. And so that's what I did. And of course, when you take that attitude and it's a way of describing in a sort of elaborate, in maybe somewhat bizarre, deranged way of extreme accountability. If your ass is on the line, your life is on the line, how are you going to do this thing? Well, you're probably going to be a lot more serious about it. And you're probably going to do it in a different way than if it just didn't really matter. There's no accountability. I'm just going to talk for an hour, because it's fun to talk and and then I'll just give them homework. They can do it at home. It's easier, a lot easier. Then okay, now I got to have them do prompts, and I go back and forth with them, and then I got to check them, and then I got that's just it's a more exhaustive process. But as we know, when you hire a tennis or golf coach or music teacher, whatever, they're going to do this thing because they know that if they just sit there and talked at you and just demonstrated stuff and you didn't practice or give feedback, this is not going to work. Right? The version one is the expert just demonstrates the thing over and over and over and talks about it. And the student needs any practice on it. That's a fail. Because you don't really learn by watching somebody else. You become familiar with something, but you don't learn it until you actually start performing it. Or two, I'm not going to tell them how to do it. I'm going to just say, go and do this stuff. And I'm going to give them feedback, and they're just flopping around. That's highly inefficient.